What's going on? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Two Degrees podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. It's your boy Javi, and today's guest, I have to say, has rocked the stages of one of the biggest sports organizations in the world. And a few years ago, because everybody I knew had a Raptors jersey, he was definitely the favorite DJ in the world because the Raptors, of course, won the championship. Everybody, it's 4Korners. How's it going?
What up, man? You know what? The how's it going, how you doing question, I feel like in the past has been the response that we all give is, yeah, I'm good. How are you doing? I feel like we need to like normalize actually saying how it's going because
Hey,
some people are having a rough time out here. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I can personally
yeah.
say I'm doing all right. I'm maintaining my positive attitude and doing my best to make the best of the situation. You're not in Ontario right now, are you?
No, currently California.
Right. You would know exactly. You would know more of what I'm talking about if you're experiencing what is going on in here, down up here. It is not
Yeah,
ideal to
yeah.
say the least. So
Well, like,
I'm doing
respectfully,
okay.
yeah, I underwent this journey to build this camper. I, this is I'm in a moving truck. I turned a moving truck into my home,
Dope.
and me and my partner are living in it. And it's partially due to the way you answered this question, where I was not okay, and I felt like I needed to escape, and I needed to find a way out. And I felt like this was the answer, because especially for me, I love traveling, and all
Mm.
the airports all of a sudden decide to close, and then the borders decide to close, and so now traveling just became something that, like, I was craving. And then this was my answer, was to travel, across to the States at least, and explore the States, explore more of Canada, which I got to do while it was still summertime as well. And then as soon as the snow came, I was like, all right, peace, I'm going south. So,
That's really, really
but
dope. I
then
actually
with that,
watched. I didn't know you did that. I didn't know you were doing this.
yeah, yeah. So like that's like the big I guess part about this podcast, is like, this is me reconnecting with everybody else, because I'm trying to get as much off grid as possible, but at the same time I realized that I just missed everybody. And so people have been following me in regards to this adventure. Why not touch base with the world and just chat, see how they're doing, see what's going on.
Absolutely. See how we're really doing. And I want to
Yeah,
hear more
because
about
like,
how you're doing. This is
yeah,
I've watched a bunch of videos. My daughter actually put me onto some videos of people that have made like tiny homes out of different kinds of vehicles. And I think it's amazing. and but I don't know anybody who's doing that. And now I find out that you're doing that. So I have so many questions, bro.
boom. Yeah, 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 no problem. Let's dive into that. But I still want to go back to that last question though, where it's like, did you hit a wall? Because especially all of my DJ friends hit a wall. But it seemed like you had the advantage of being part of the Raptors organization, so it's like you still had work. But I know that's not
I did, but I
all you
didn't.
wanted to do.
No, but see,
Yeah.
here's the thing.
So
I didn't exactly have work for
hmm,
a large portion of this time because, well, first things first, the NBA shut down in March 2020 when everything shut down,
yeah.
like when the world shut down.
Mhm.
And then it came back that summer, late summer, with the NBA bubble situation where all the teams played in one location in Florida. And I
Yeah.
had the opportunity to go and be part of that. It was just basically self-contained, very few people in and out, lots of COVID testing, a sterile-ish environment for everybody to be there and be safe and actually continue games. I had
Yeah.
the opportunity to go, but it wasn't the right situation, let's just say. Like, it didn't make sense
Mm.
for me to go. I really
Yeah.
wanted to, but like too many factors were just not in line with what was going on in my life at the time. So I passed on it. They just had a few
Mm.
DJs from the NBA play all the games. So I did not have work
Gotcha.
then. And then the following season, the Raptors being the only team on this side of the border and the height of COVID and everything going on crazy and the border being closed, our team played the entire season in Tampa, Florida as their home base.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I had the opportunity to go, but it wasn't the right situation. Um, so I didn't. So I was out of work essentially with the Raptors for a whole season there. So
Mm.
now we're back and the team's playing in Toronto. So I'm back to work, but we have
Yeah.
currently no fans in the arena based on the circumstance. And like, sorry to backtrack. During the NBA bubble, I did have a little bit of work. I'm lying. I had a little bit of work because we did some tailgate parties here. We set up like a giant festival stage and had people come, and it was like a drive-in situation where people like literally drove their cars and chilled in their cars and watched the games on a big screen while we provided
Yeah.
some
Was that at
entertainment
the
and some fan
docks?
interaction. No, that was we built our own actually. Well, I say we, like I built it. The the OLG, the Ontario Lottery Corporation, along with Maple Leaf Sports, put together this stage. It was at Ontario Place in one of the big
Oh,
parking
nice.
lots, and it was
Yeah.
permanently there for
Cool.
just Raptors games, Leafs games, and some concerts. So similar to what the
Yeah.
Docs did.
Gotcha. So
So all
then,
in
where did your
all,
head
not
go?
awesome. I was really down, man. Like I was really, really down. And I think I hit my lowest point right after, because we did that drive-in situation for the 2020 playoffs. For like while the players were in the bubble, we couldn't be there. The fans couldn't take part. So we made this thing that Toronto fans could feel a part of it. But when we got knocked out of the playoffs, like that was the only thing I had going on. And the playoffs are intense. So there's games like every 2 days. So, and after not feeling energy of people in person for a while, that was like a real high. Like it was a serious adrenaline rush to get in front of a large crowd and like have the stadium sound and like it's a big stage, lights, camera, action. And when we got knocked out of the playoffs, it went from that to nothing in from yesterday to today. It was like, because there was nothing else going on. It was around, it was September, starting to get chilly. Definitely no more outdoor stuff happening in the city, and we were still on severe lockdown. So like at that time, um, my girlfriend at the time looked at me one of those days and was like, "Yo, I think you're depressed, bro, because like you're not yourself." And I don't know what depression feels like. I don't think I do. I don't want to disrespect people that actually go through serious depression by being like, oh yeah, I was depressed, because like I don't know, honestly. I just started therapy like last month. So I'm gonna talk through that and see if that's what it was. If we can trace that, I don't even know at this point. But I know that some mornings I felt like, well, what's the point of even getting out of bed? And that's not who I am. Like I like to think of myself as a fairly positive, like people always tell me like I inspire them to do stuff because of my energy. And I had none of that energy. Like I was literally like, well, what's the point? Like, what am I really doing with what is life right now? Like, what am I really gonna do? I get out of bed and do what and go where and for what purpose? So thankfully I don't feel like that anymore. But like that was a tough time. And I think that a lot of people, I mean, most people have had a tough time at some point, if not through this whole thing. How was it for you? I mean, you
I
got the hell out.
refuse to believe anybody who says that they're fine um during this time. And because it's and who refuse to admit any type of being affected by this. Maybe because like for me, I definitely hit that wall too where I didn't want to get out of bed, and it's happened a couple times. And for me, I think I've had the support system that kind of pushed me in a direction to handle it in a sense where it's like, if you want to stay in bed, you stay in bed. And to reaffirm the saying that it's okay not to be okay. So if
Mm,
you're feeling bummed out and you feel like you don't want to get out of bed, stay in bed, sleep it, because your body is telling you that you need that kind of rest for some reason. And maybe it's rest to help get through this lull that the universe is putting us through, or maybe it's literally that transformation process of you just need to, because things happen when you rest. That's like the most effective time your body can recharge, let alone grow. You don't grow
for
when
sure.
you're awake, like physically. Like your body grows in your sleep. So it's like when it comes to that feeling, it's definitely something that I had to sit in, and it's a terrible feeling. But the thing that's helped me with that especially is with the people around me, where I have the friends that'll like they'll cue in when to be proactive and pull me out physically of my place and like just take me for a walk, and then that'll be the world to me that day. But then they also
Right.
know when to just let me rest. So that was my thing too, because like as you said, it's a high to a low. And with the film industry, we're always on, waiting for an audition in a sense. And
Hmm.
at the place where me and a lot of my friends are at right now, we're at a place where we're making moves, and so we have this notion of we need to keep momentum. So we're trying to keep up as opposed to just letting it come to us and things. So it's like all of a sudden we're trying our best to keep this momentum, and then the industry just shuts down, and it's like, okay, we have this energy, where do we put this creative energy? And now we're going above and beyond. We're writing, we're trying to talk to other actors to put together, table reads just so we can do something. And then all of a sudden our bodies mentally hit this place of like, we can't keep up. We're just my mind is just gonna stop now, and it did, and it's just like I associate that with like people say that they cracked. Yeah, I cracked. I was just like, this is
Damn.
nope, not for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough, man,
So
and it's something that we. I mean, I don't know anybody short of like Bill Gates who really thought that this was going to happen in our lifetime. Like he's the one that's been like I told you so, but like the rest of us, definitely all of us, in our circles, we're just like, whoa, this came completely out of nowhere. Like we've lived through, like you and I are old enough, like we've lived through like when SARS was a thing and it was like everybody was scared of it, or like you heard of Ebola, and like we're not, we're not completely ignorant to the fact that like viruses occur and outbreaks occur. There's so many movies about there's literally a movie called Outbreak. You know what I
yeah.
mean? We're aware of these things, but like you never. I know I'm young at heart, but I don't know if I still, and I think in some ways I still have that like youthful, magical thinking that like nothing bad will really happen. You get me?
Mm. I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum. I'm complete
Really?
contingency person, so I have so many backup plans in case stuff happens where I'm just like, I need to have a backup
No,
plan on
don't
a
get me
backup plan
wrong.
on
I'm
a
not
backup
saying
plan.
that I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying that I'm not prepared, and I definitely adult on a high level. But I'm saying like the thought of the world shutting down was like no way to me.
Mm.
And when it happened,
To
I was
that
like, this is
degree,
not happening. And then
to that degree, I
yeah, it was like
definitely
this was
didn't think. Yeah.
no, not like this. Not like this. This is
Yeah.
the stuff that we read about in history books and be like, oh man, that must have been rough. We're history now. Like generations from
Yeah.
now, they're going to read about this time, and
Yeah.
we're going to be around to tell some of it. Like when you
Yeah.
speak to
And
people
then
that were, like when you speak to like Holocaust survivors or people that were around during the world wars, and like, I'm not making comparisons. I'm just saying like these are major, major world events that like adversely affected people's lives that we read about
yeah.
in books that they lived through. We're
Yeah.
people now. We're those people,
Yeah.
and that's wild to me.
You just gave me a thought where it's like I want to talk to those individuals now where it's like because they went through such trials and tribulations where and now they went through this, it's like do you think they were mentally ready for something like this to happen where it's like, oh yeah, no, that could possibly happen. So that's
You
interesting.
know what? It could be that. It could be the other end of like, man, we've been through our stuff. There's no way something else this bad can ever happen in our lifetime. And then boom. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
do not know.
Yeah.
I do know though that I feel for the older generations that are like elderly at this point and having these like every moment is precious the higher. I mean, we all know what life is and it's there's a time limit on it. So like when you get up into like
Yeah.
the 80s and your 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and years are stripped away from you got to, especially in that segment of the population where everybody's heightened about, oh, you're extremely vulnerable to this. You really got to take care and you really got to stay home and you really got to stay away from people. At that stage in life where, you know what I mean? You're really trying to live.
Yeah.
I can't begin to imagine how that feels. Like we're all here sitting like, oh man, we're wasting time. Like imagine being on that end of things.
Yeah. No,
Like
for sure. I
it's
feel that.
maddening, bro. Yeah.
You said something earlier in regards to you've never been depressed or you don't think you've been depressed.
I don't
Um
think so.
and I do got to say though that I'm definitely thrilled to hear that you're in therapy, but with that, do you think it's like an immigrant thing? Because for me, I if I was down, like my parents, there was no consideration. It's like, oh, you feel down? No, you gotta get up. You gotta do something. You're not
Uh-huh.
allowed to feel down. It's like, do you know how fortunate you are? And then you'll get the talk of like what they went through and kind of gaslight you and stuff like that with your
Yeah. Oh,
emotions.
big time. Big time. I've been
Yeah.
considering therapy for a few years now, just
Mm,
because it's like breaking that generational curse.
yeah.
Because generations prior to me, I had a conversation with my mom around a year ago this time. And I was speaking to her about the way she was getting angry about something and starting to hint towards, well, maybe you should. And she cut me off in my tracks. She'd be like, I'm not going to therapy. Like before I even could even like imply the thing.
Yeah.
And truth be told, that's kind of where I was going with it because I think we could all use somebody to talk to. Definitely
Oh yeah.
an objective person who's trained in how our minds work and how we interact with each other and where things come from.
Yeah.
Like they're trained in that literally. Plus, they have no skin in the game. They're completely impartial. They're not a family member or a friend, or they have like nothing to gain from you going one way
Yeah.
or another way. So they're just, their
Mhm.
job is literally to just be like, let's explore your mind and figure out why things are the way they are, why you react to things the way that you do, blah, blah, blah. I think that's great. But it took me a while to get to this point where I felt okay with it because two reasons. Number one, it's just not part of our culture. It's like frowned upon by our culture, essentially, by many cultures. Like you said, use the word immigrant, 100%. Like most of us people of color from different parts of the world, it's looked at in the same way as like, no, therapy, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's not looked at the same way that like medical medicine is, where if something's physically ailing you, you definitely have to, like, they'll be the quick one to tell you go to the doctor. But therapy, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. You don't need therapy. You just need to do this or you need to do that or you need to just shake it off or whatever it is that they say. Um, the second reason though is again, it's also cultural. It was a hard one for me to like open up and like tell somebody my business. You know what I mean? Because we're also taught just as a survival mechanism to keep things close to the chest and like not really talk your business in the road per se, as they would say, because of you don't want to let people have this information because of what they might do with it. And it's just very paranoid thinking based on survival. And I get it. I completely get it. And
Yeah,
there were
yeah,
times and places where, no, you don't want to tell people things because that could come around. But I don't think that that's what this is. And when I really thought about it, I was like, well, it's not like I'm telling my therapist my business as in like something that has any bearing on anything that would benefit him or in any way. I'm literally telling him how I feel and like what I've been through and like what good is that information to anybody anyway? You know what I mean? In like a hurtful
yeah,
way.
yeah.
It's not. It's
No,
just
for sure.
it's for my benefit to be able to get this stuff out and speak to somebody who, like I said, is impartial, who gets to know me through this relationship, but like they don't know me.
Yeah.
So therefore their opinions are not biased in any way.
Mm.
And there's no friends that we have that don't have a somewhat of a biased opinion. I try to be like, and I know you too, like you're the type of person you try to give your friends the best advice or what have you, but like based on your relationship, there's biases there. There just are.
The
And
plot
it's not
twist here
intentional,
is
it
your
just is.
therapist is a Lakers fan, and she just wants to throw you
Mm.
so far off your game when you're playing.
Oh my gosh.
Just
That would be amazing.
subliminally breaking you down on the inside. So when the Raptors are playing, you bring down the vibe of the entire stadium.
Oh my gosh. Well, if I felt
No,
like
but honestly,
anything like that, I would definitely find a new therapist. That's how I want
that's
to
dope
feel when
though.
I come out of a
So
session.
I'm so thrilled that you you mentioned that too, because it's like in regards to therapy, like it's ingrained in the media too, where I talk about that with people where especially in the 90s, whenever there was like a crazy character on scene, like they wouldn't even say therapist, they'd say shrink, right?
Right.
Because like that was the way you made fun of them. And then like it was such a taboo topic where, as soon as somebody dropped the shrink word on the table, like the conversation quickly moves to another thing. So that's my definite push too, especially in today's world, is to just try and normalize therapy, because a lot of people don't understand the value of being able to talk to somebody openly and not so much get advice but vent, because I
Yeah,
think that's the important part of that, is to get whatever is off your chest.
brother. Especially
So
as men, because we're socialized to not do
yeah.
that, to not need that.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
as
yeah.
men of color, because we're socialized
Mm.
that that's like a very bad thing and we're ridiculed for that.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
soft.
So soft things. Oh
You
man.
know?
Like that was like, I wish I could pinpoint, where that started, but like there's books and stuff for that, and I'm just happy to have gotten there for sure, just to that bit of understanding. So
Yeah.
then seeking therapy becomes normal. One more question with that, because I know therapy is like a private thing for people sometimes, but one more question with that is like, how did you go about finding your therapist? Because I think that's also an important thing that people need to know and hear sometimes.
For sure. And it was definitely part of the process of that was like I took great care in it.
Hmm.
First thing first, I just went online and started like Googling and trying to find what information I could. But I am fortunate enough, my daughter's mom quit her job in finance years ago and started studying to be a therapist. And she's now a therapist. And
Wow.
because she is, I asked her if she has any recommendations for me. And I specifically wanted a male Black therapist because I just feel like there are some things that I don't want to have to explain I want to get straight to it. And the closer I can find somebody who is like with a similar life experience as mine, I felt like that would be the best route to, you know what I mean? And I could be wrong. I don't know. But the therapist I found is a Black male that's in my age range and grew up in Toronto.
Nice.
We have and he's Trini. His background is Trini.
Nice.
So
yeah,
we have so many similarities in our upbringing, in our cultural, like everything, where we grew up, all of that, that like there's a lot that just doesn't even need to be said. I don't need to go into detail about this and that and what this means or whatever. I can just get into the real. And I just felt like that was something that would be good for me. So I was able to speak to her and she recommended him. And that's how I was able to find my therapist. But that was just like my choice. I don't know if that's the best or the worst or if it even matters. But for anybody seeking a therapist, I think that even like a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, he asked me if I wanted to speak to his therapist or I wanted to speak to his therapist to get a recommendation. I've come to see that that's kind of how it works. Like, you know somebody who's in therapy or you know a therapist, ask questions, ask if they have any recommendations, and they know you, they can kind of guide you in the direction that makes it more comfortable a process, because otherwise just going out and, I mean, same thing like with a medical doctor. Every medical doctor that I've ever had has been some level of referral. I never looked in on the internet or in a, you know, my mom didn't look in the phone book and find a doctor and be like, okay, that's gonna be a pediatrician. It came recommended. And every step of the way since then, it's been that. So I feel like that's a similar path for therapy in my experience.
No, for sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, it took me a couple of therapists to learn that I need to find the right therapist for me.
That's important
because it's that relatability thing. Because like I've sat in front of, you know, your middle-aged white woman, and I'm hearing what she's saying, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then I've also sat in front of, you know, your senior white male, and then like there was that tone of, oh well, you need to live like me, not directly like that, but like I could get an air of that, and I'm like, this isn't what I'm looking for. And then I can't remember where I read it, but then they're like, yeah, no, interview your therapist before you know, book something with them. Sit down with them, ask them questions, see if there's that commonality. And then, oh, it was Charlemagne's book, Shook Ones, where he's like, you know, it's important for a person of color to get a therapist who's a person of color. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. And so it's just for that purpose of, you know, them being able to understand and you not having to explain. Because once you start having to explain things, you might miss the explanation. And then now this person on the outside still doesn't quite get what it is that you're talking about. So yeah, no, that's definitely
So
something
that's
to.
very interesting. That just made sense to me. I haven't read Charlemagne's book. That just made sense to me. And I know a few people that have gone through a few therapists. So I knew that like finding a match was important. I didn't really think about it too deeply in terms of like, well, what ethnicity or what age range were those therapists that I just like, well, I know not everybody gets the therapist that works for them on the first try. You got to try a few potentially, because they're still a person, and you got to have some sort of rapport that you feel comfortable and that they get you and you guys can get to the place where you need to be. I just figured, let me cut all of that shit out from the get-go and let me get somebody who's as much like me as possible. And it's like from the first conversation, I was like, yeah, you're my guy.
Nice.
So I think that
it's important to have that vibe.
And it was less scary. It was less scary, honestly. Like it like, maybe I'm just extremely lucky that on the first try I found a therapist that like I really like vibe with. But like it really feels like I'm talking to one of my brethren, but like on some real shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do have friends that I can speak to on some real shit. You're one of them. Like we're speaking real shit right now. but like
Yeah.
it feels like I'm speaking to one of the homies that listens very well and has advice to give based on actual substance, not just what they think or what they've personally been through. Like this is
Yeah.
he's drawing from more than that, which is super helpful. Like I'm getting tips and pointers of how to deal with certain things or just perspective on how to look at things or even just holding up a mirror to myself based on the questions that he asked me that I'm like,
Mm.
damn, I never thought of that. But that's exactly
Yeah.
that's exactly how I feel. Or that's shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of that. It's
Yeah.
really it's helpful, man. It's helpful. And I don't consider
Yeah.
myself somebody that's depressed. I don't suffer from anxiety. I don't have anything that people equate with, oh, you need to speak to somebody. I just
Mm.
I'm a human being that understands or has grown to understand that we all need somebody to talk to. We do.
Yeah.
And especially as
Yeah.
a Black male, I have like all the things we were speaking of before. I was like, I've lived with the pressure of suppressing my feelings for so long that I recognize that that can't be healthy. There's got to be a better
Yeah.
way to deal
So
with things.
with that, the concept of suppressed feelings for so long, I'm gonna say stop downplaying your issues and saying that other people have bigger issues because your issue may seem small now, but again, you've been suppressing so much. So this could just
Right.
be the tip, right? So that's one thing that I want to pass on to you is like, don't say that, oh, just because this person's on medication, they're serious. It's like, nah, man, like you've
No,
just
and
been able
I
to,
get that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
get that. No,
So,
I didn't mean to make it sound like that. I mean like the general guys, the general like view of society is like someone who needs
yeah,
therapy is person A, person B, person C, and I don't identify as
yeah,
those people, but
yeah,
in that I'm not. I still do think that I definitely need to have therapy. Like it's
yeah,
not just
yeah,
these particular types of people or these people going through these experiences that could benefit from therapy. I know I'm
yeah,
already benefiting from it, and I'm so happy that I started. And I'm just like 4 sessions in. You know what I mean? And like, I encourage, and I want to be very transparent about it because I want people in my circle, and I want people to know that it's like
yeah.
you should,
One thing a
you should.
therapist broke down for me where they were like, in regards to, oh, there's person A, person B, person C, whatever, where it's like, think of a therapist as a mechanic. The person who has the better running car services their car when there's nothing wrong with it. You don't want to wait till you're broken
I like
before
that.
you bring
I
it
like
into the
that.
shop,
Yeah.
right? And that's what the therapist is for us is you want to, so it's like you shouldn't ever wait until, you're at that point of depression because once you're there, it's a slippery slope. So it's like when you're having your best days, when you're having the stadiums filled and you're on this high, that's when you should go to therapy and
Right.
then figure out at that point how to come back down effectively instead of just hitting a wall and feeling like you're falling off a cliff of that energy
Right.
level.
So yeah, so
So
it's
that's
not a
wisdom.
matter of like it's not a matter of well, it's something wrong. It's like, do you have a car? Yes or no? Like if you have a car, your car should be serviced from time to time.
Yeah,
That's what comes with having a car. Are you a
yeah,
human being? Well, yeah, as a human, you're gonna need to talk to somebody from time to time, really deeply, and like go through things because that's part of
yeah,
being a human. It's not good or bad; it just is. Yeah,
yeah,
I fuck with that. I like that a lot.
yeah. So like
I like analogy. I'm
aside,
really big on analogy.
yeah, aside from therapy, um, when all of like, let's go even further back because I'm curious to know how you picked or how you fell upon the opportunity to be a Raptors DJ because I got a ton of DJ friends and they're doing a plethora of different things, but nobody is playing stadiums on a daily basis like you've been. So it's like, how did you get that opportunity?
You know, it's hilarious. I just started. Well, two things. Number one, that's a question that I get asked a lot, and I made a TikTok. I made a YouTube video about that a few years ago that I
Mm,
know I need to update. But just literally yesterday, because I just started using TikTok a couple months ago, and it's going really well. By the way, I really enjoy it. That platform and
nice.
how it moves and like the culture of it. I got
Yeah.
asked that there also, like I get asked everywhere. And I literally just posted a video yesterday about this, explaining it, but like it's gonna be in parts. So part one is on my TikTok right now, and I'm gonna film part two and
Nice.
like continue the story. Because it's like I think it's a fascinating story in that there are lessons that I learned during that process that have carried me through my life and my business. Um, to
Mm,
condense it, I got the opportunity to DJ at Roots Canada in the Eaton Center on weekends because they had a DJ booth
nice.
and no DJ. One of my friends happened to see that and asked me and a couple other homies if we wanted to do it. And I was the only one that said yes. So I did that, and I did that for years, like 2, 3 years at least, maybe longer. And Roots at the time had their Yorkville store where they had a liquor
Mm,
license, and they would do like TIFF events and other things. Because I had built with Roots over the years, they had me DJ those events. DJing one of those events, the VP of marketing from Maple Leaf Sports was there and saw me and my partner at the time, and were like, I really love what you're doing. Would you be interested in DJing at Raptors game? Because we just saw that the Miami Heat has a DJ, and it was really cool.
oh wow.
And we thought that would be really awesome here in Toronto, but we're not in touch with the DJ scene, DJ culture. We don't know who.
So that was like another question I wanted to ask. Does that mean you were the first? There was nobody before you?
Correct. I was in my
That's cool.
to my knowledge, I'm the second official team DJ for a professional sports team in the world. DJ Irie in Miami being the
Wow.
first. To
Yeah.
my knowledge. If there are others, I'm not aware of it. And if there were, they were definitely not on the scale that the NBA has done it, because it's like you've been to games. I'm an
Yeah.
integral part of the entire thing. And like Irie
Yeah.
is that. And from there, it's spread across like a lot of the teams have DJs now. And now a lot of other sports teams have DJs. But it started with basketball, which makes sense because basketball and hip hop are married. So that
Yeah.
part began there. But like, yeah, to my knowledge, I'm definitely the first in Canada, and I think I'm the second in the world. I've been doing this for 17 years, bro.
Yeah. That's crazy. Now with that, how did you get your DJ pack? Like, where did you get all your sound effects? Did you have to go find them? Did they say, hey, these are some of the things that we want you to play? And then with that, when do you decide when to play things, or do they have cues where it's like, all right, free throw, you need to do this. When it's possession on the other side, you need to do this. Like, where did that all come from?
You'll understand this very well because you're in film. It's very scripted.
Hmm.
Like as far as the run of show and how it works, it's a production, it's a presentation. Like it's not at all like a party or an
Hmm.
event in any other realm that I do. It's very specific. Every game I get like a run of show, and there are cues that are mine and there are cues for other people, and we all actually communicate through in-ear monitors. So
Hmm.
behind the scenes of the game, there's all this chatter is happening, and we're all talking about what's going to happen on the next time out and what's going with that and who's going to be on the court and what mics are on and all that kind of stuff. It's all going on. And my role in that is there are some scripted parts where I'm playing a specific song that goes along with a promotion or a contest or whatever. And then there's
Yeah.
a lot of freedom that I can play whatever I want. They trust me. They hired me. They headhunted me because of the way I was playing at that party. I was mixing all genres together in a way that was seamless, and that was the thing that tipped her
Yeah.
off. That she's like, well, in the arena, it's not a party where there's a certain type of people. It's literally all walks of life are in there. And if we're going to do this thing that we saw, it's got to be somebody who understands that and can cater to that.
Hmm.
And she saw that in the way that I was playing my DJ set. And I'm simplifying it by saying, well, she saw me and I got the job. I had to really, really harass her ass to make sure that it was a wine tasting event that I was DJing at. Everybody's drinking. We had a quick conversation and passed me her card. I didn't know if she was gonna forget. I don't know if she was just something she said while she was tipsy. Like, I didn't know, but I was not gonna let that be the end of that conversation. So I really, really called, emailed, made it happen, did a audition in the arena. When I finally got them to the point to really consider it, me and my partner had to do an audition in the arena, empty, with a camera, with like 4 people standing there looking at us. Be like, all right, act like the arena's full. For 10 minutes, do what you would do, go. And we just had to like wing it, like act as if, and rock the stadium, which was hollow as hell. So much, like, never played in a room that big. So like the echo was crazy, and like it was just daunting but exciting. And they liked what they saw because they gave us a shot. And then the next season we revisited, and they're like, okay, we like it, we want to keep going. And then the next season, and it just got to the point where it was just like, well, it's a given. You're part of the thing. And then I split ways with my partner like about 5 years into that, and continued on until now. And as far as like where the sounds and all that kind of stuff, like, we built it. There was nothing before. You know what I mean? So like, we built the way basketball sounds in this city from that time on.
That phrase is just mind-blowing to me, where because again, with my background in entertainment, just knowing what it takes to put a production together, so to say that you built the sound of basketball is just, that should be on the mantle right there.
That's the
dope.
tagline, yeah. No, but it is though. Between me and
cool.
a few other individuals that I worked closely with, especially during those early years, we built out how this would work. Because before that, they would play music and they would play some sound effects, but like, it wasn't cohesive. It wasn't thought out from the mind of a DJ. It was just thought out from like, oh, there should be music playing at this time. But it was like way less lively, because you need somebody who knows music and knows music psychology to be able to make people feel. And that's what they trusted me with. And we tried a bunch of shit, to be honest. Like, we just tried shit. Like, thankful for the people that I was working with from day one. One of the guys that was like one of my main points of contact in there at that time is now the head of entertainment for the whole company. So like, he runs the entertainment for Raptors, for Leafs, for TFC, for Argos, for everything. He oversees it all. Partially because of, like, he's been there as long as I have. And we built how the entertainment, like everything else, is modeled after what we've done at Raptors, because it worked. We brought a different energy than was being provided prior, and it worked. It translated to fans. People get excited. You don't have to give a shit about basketball to have a great time at a Raptors game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the model that we built, and he's taken to the other franchises to elevate their game experience. So I'm very, very proud of what we've done, because it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot, and it's affected a lot.
I bet. That's really cool. Now, before the opportunity came, where was your head at as a DJ? Because there's various, I guess, end goals that DJs have, where it's like, oh, they want to be a DJ for a popular MC. They want to go to Tomorrowland. They want to, be a resident DJ at some club in Vegas. Where was your head at? Where did you want to go?
My head, when I first started out, was super simple. I wanted to travel the world. That was it. Like, I saw DJs that I knew in the city killing it, but killing it very locally. I saw a select few of DJs doing a lot of back and forth across Canada. And I thought that was cool. But I know the world's a big place. And I saw
Hmm.
some DJs, you know what I mean, online. I didn't know any personally, but I saw some DJs online touring globally. And
Yeah.
very early on, I was like, that's what I want to do. At first, it was just, I just want to get in front of people and play music. Once I got into it and actually started building some steam, I was like, that's what I want to do. Like once I
Hmm.
actually had to think of a DJ name and all that kind of stuff, like at that point, that's why I made 4Korners, because of the 4 corners of the world. That was like vision board type manifestation shit. I was like, yo, if I name myself 4 Korners, I will reach the 4 corners. Like I'll be saying it every day.
Hmm.
It'll be on my shirt. It'll be on my hat. It'll be on everything. And that's why I did it. So yeah, the goal was nothing specific. Like I want to play at this specific club or this festival or this city. It was, I want music to take me everywhere. Let's see how far this can go.
Nice. No, that's beautiful. So, is the K in 4 Korners because of your first name, or is that just because you thought, oh, I'll be different and I'll put a K instead of a
Nah,
C?
nah, it's because my name's Kirk. I was like, fuck it, it's my shit.
Yeah.
And 4 Korners was a crew at the time too. Like I roped in like my homie from high school, my cousin, and my other boy, and we were like, "Do you remember the Baby Blue Sound Crew?"
Yeah.
That was what I thought was the coolest shit in the world. And
Yeah.
I made Kid Cut like very shy and like he blushes when I talk about this, but like swear on God, when I first started, they were my ideal of what DJing was, because they had like the look, they
Mm.
looked like an R&B group. They didn't look like a DJ, they
Yeah.
looked like an R&B group. They had like
Yeah.
clothing sponsorships. Their everything about them just seemed super polished and worldly to me. And even though they didn't travel
Yeah.
that much, they traveled a bit, but they didn't travel that much. But they were just like the coolest shit ever to me. So I thought, well, if I'm gonna be a DJ, I gotta have a crew. So I roped in some of
Mm.
my friends who super did not last, because when you had to spend money, they were not down. They didn't know how
Yeah.
expensive records were. Um, but it was like that was everything to me. Like that was literally everything to me. And from there we just went, and like whoever didn't want to continue riding, they didn't ride. They were still friends, but like they were not part of it. And I just
Mm.
kept it pushing. But like that was the motivation. It was like, yo, I want to like I need to be on that level. I need to look and feel like that. Like when they walked into the party, it felt like something. Like, oh shit, they're here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's where that came from. And I remember when I told them, yo, we should call ourselves 4 Korners with a K, they were like, I see what you're doing, bro. Like, I know where that K comes from. I was like, hey man, I'm the one that called you come here. So like I get to name the group.
I just had the thought in my head where it's like the Temptations biopic where it's like nobody comes see Otis.
The 5 heartbeats, yeah. I'm the one selling all the records.
Oh
it was
man.
pretty much that.
Um
It was pretty much that. I was like, I'm the one buying all the records.
so records was a big deal too, and I know for a fact you can talk about records for days, but
Oh yeah.
I also know that like there's a significance when it comes to records. So I think I could see some records behind you. What makes those
Yes, you
records
can.
get on that shelf?
You know what?
I feel like that's the
My
important
real
shelf.
yes. Well, my full record collection is at my folks' house, and I live in a condo in downtown Toronto. There's not enough room in here for all those records. It's like there's not enough room for them in the basement where they are right now. I made them look as
Yeah.
neat as possible to like not piss my mom off, but like I I just couldn't. So what I
Yeah.
have with me are like some of my favorites, and it's more things that I like to listen to versus what I like to DJ. Because
Hmm.
to spin
Gotcha.
records and like spin a DJ set on vinyl, you need a lot of records. This is
Yeah.
just stuff that I like I have Sade in here, I have like Prince in here, Michael Jackson, the XX, like
Hmm.
various things that I like of all genres that I'll just put on Amy
Yeah.
Winehouse. I'll just get up and put on Amy Winehouse's album Back in Black and I'll just make some tea and chill, and you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
as a music lover, as a music connoisseur, as a DJ, of course, and as somebody who grew up with vinyl being the primary source of music in the house, vinyl just feels and sounds different to me than any other way to play music. Like I'm not gonna say your name because she'll turn on, but like I have the Amazon thing that you say your name and say play this and do that. And I use her a lot, but it's not the same as putting on a piece of vinyl and just like hearing the crackles, and like it reminds me of what music is and what it was and like how I was first introduced to music.
Yeah. Taking the vinyl out, rub it down, setting it on, putting it's
Every part of it, every
I
part
like
of it.
things that take there's a procedure to do things. I like doing those things where it's like I'll take my time with
Yeah,
each
and
step and just kind of sit in it.
there's
Yeah.
care involved. You can't just treat it anyhow. You
Yeah.
gotta like, I've recently got into, I don't know if you can see, I have some plants back here, some very small ones, but like I've recently got into taking care of plants and stuff because I feel like it's a
Nice.
similar thing, like the process to it. And there's care
Yeah.
involved, and then you see the fruits of your labor as they grow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
like taking it, like you said it perfectly. When you take the record out the sleeve, you hear it, you feel it. When you put it down, you clean it off. It's like, it's a real thing. It's tactile,
Yeah.
especially in this digital age. Like we
For
we
sure.
there's so much more meaning in something that you can actually feel, considering most
For
things
sure.
seem so disposable at this point.
Yeah. Now, you said amongst that collection behind you, you have your Sade. How big of a fan are you in regards? Because, like, one thing I love doing with my partner is every now and then I'll pronounce her name Sade just to just to put
Sadie, I hear her growing in the background. Hey, Sadie.
say That's so funny.
Oh man.
Now, you said something interesting in regards to us being a digital age, and I know this is a really popular conversation amongst DJs, old school and new school, where I'm curious to know your opinion on the evolution of vinyl to everything being on MP3s and on your computer. Where does your mind sit at when you meet a DJ, a new school DJ who's like never played vinyl?
You know what's interesting about that? I feel like I came up right on the cusp between both worlds. So like I was
Yeah.
there buying vinyl. I was there at Played a Record on Young Street on Thursdays, waiting for the new vinyl shipment and hoping I could get the new record that I heard was coming out, or like hearing that thing that I didn't even know existed and running to the back hoping I could get a copy. Like I was there for all that. I was there
Mm.
for, if you didn't have the song, you couldn't play it. Like I was there. But
Yeah.
also early enough in my DJ career, things went digital to the point where now we have access to everything. And I'm
Mm.
grateful for having experienced both. There's two sides to that coin. There are new DJs that never experienced the early part, and I feel like they missed out on something because there's some things that they're never going to be able to feel. Like, and when I say that, imagine there's a song that you come across that is you love, you think is an incredible record, but you don't have it. And you hear other DJs playing it, you hear it on the radio, you don't have a copy.
Mm.
And you search record stores across the city, or you travel to other places and try to pop into record stores, and you finally find that record. Number one, that feeling alone, they will never understand because you type it and it's there now. But also that feeling of like having that record and the first time you actually play it at a party, they will never
Wow.
understand
Yeah.
that. They will never understand that feeling. Or even just the feeling of like getting that new hot record that not every DJ has, and you have it and you play it and all the other DJs are like, oh shit, you have that? And the whole crowd was like, oh shit, it's playing, it's actually playing. Like, that doesn't exist anymore in the world, period, because digital.
That just gave you see the smile?
Yeah,
I get that.
that does not exist anymore. But on the flip, there are a lot of DJs that are stuck in the past and unwilling to adapt. And that is just career suicide. Like, that's, you're limiting yourself so much that you're going to make yourself extinct if you don't move forward with things the way that they're going. Because, like, again, if you're living in that mentality and you're, oh, I can only play the records that I have, the way music is now and how fast it comes and how DJs are all making their own edits, and you can, DJs or producers like myself where I have my own songs or like remixes that are not official, and like just the creativity that you can do with digital is just simply not possible on analog. And they're missing out if they're not taking part of that as well. But they can. That's the difference. They can.
Yeah. Yeah.
The newer DJs, they're never going to experience that. Even just honestly, you don't even have to be a DJ. Just remember the feeling of buying a CD and like getting that last copy, or like the new one that came out, or you rushed, you knew what day was coming out and you went and you got it, and you listened to it all day, and
yeah,
your friends were jealous that you had it, so you had to go over to their house. When you go, you know what I mean? When you go over, you bring CDs. Like, that is all gone. That's gone. And I know it sounds archaic at this point, but the feelings that were part of that, and it's not even that long ago. That's the thing. Like, we're talking like 10 years ago, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the feeling involved in that will never exist again. And I'm sad for people who never got a chance to feel that, because those are joys that, like, to this day, I will never forget. Like, I remember calling the community radio station in my neighborhood. I lived near York University. I grew up in Jane and Shepherd. And I remember calling the radio station over and over, using different voices to try to get them to play Crisscross Jump. And I was sitting there with my tape deck with my 2 fingers ready to record it. And I'm like a kid, like, you know what I mean? I'm not buying money to buy anything or whatever. I'm just like, I need the song. And like, they finally played it. I recorded it on a cassette, and I was so happy for the whole week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
No.
That does not exist.
Yeah.
Do you hear about, do you hear about that new song? Oh, hold on. Boom, boom, boom. This one?
Yeah. I remember those days where, like, making mixtapes just off of radio edit recordings was
right.
That was my jam. I'd sit in front of the radio that was my thing after school, is I just sit in front of the radio and just listen, and then if a song came on that I liked, hit record.
Boom.
Oh man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those types of feelings for music lovers. It's unfortunate that they're not going to be able to feel those. I mean, there's other things, but it's not that. It's not that. The scarcity of it, that you had to be there aspect, or like you had to have it aspect, is really not the same with digital. Because, and we sound like mad old right now, and I don't even care. I'm happy I'm old because I was there for this. It's not the same. Like I said, somebody mentioned something. Oh, did you hear the new Weeknd album? Oh, I never heard it, but I have it though. You know, I didn't even know he had an album, but I have it though. It's not the same.
Last thing, because like time's getting away from us, and there's so many more things that I want to ask, but you mentioned it, so let's segue into that as the last one. But you talked about producing. Me personally, seeing it happen, I feel like that's the natural evolution of a DJ, but then a lot of DJs don't do that, and then they I don't know, maybe they refuse to do it because they think that they don't have to. But then how did you fall into producing? And because like that's one thing that like a lot of my DJ friends seem to not hit as well, where it's like they're just happy with playing the parties and stuff. It's like, yo, make music, produce music. How did that happen for you?
For sure. You know what? The thing with DJing is it's such a vast career path that there's so many different ways you can approach it and enjoy it. And to those who are enjoying what they're doing and they don't feel the need to do anything else, so be it. Like the goal is to be happy in life, in my opinion. The goal is to be happy. If you're happy with what you're doing or you're happy with what you have, enjoy it. Do it more. Awesome. But for me, it was a natural progression. I grew up playing instruments. I was in band. I played piano as a kid and was in competitions and stuff. So like playing music was always part of my life. Then DJing entered, and it was manipulating music that already exists. It wasn't actually playing music, but like it was, it's still my hands in the music.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that the natural progression happened for two reasons. Number one, it's a great feeling to throw on a record and see people react and go crazy or whatever. But when I started making like my own remixes of things and whatnot and seeing people react, that just whet my appetite for more. I was like, yo, what if I made the whole song and they reacted like that? Like that's the highest of highs. Like something that I conceived in my brain, I made it with my hands, and watching people enjoy it is not the same thing as playing some song that somebody else made. Like it's levels to the shit. But for me, when I was a resident at the government nightclub, RIP the government, greatest club ever in my opinion. I got to experience, I played in a small room where I played open format, I played whatever I wanted. But in the main room on Saturday nights, they had international house DJs every week. And I came to understand that, these DJs, they're the producers of the songs. Like they're the artists. Like they're here playing their own songs to 2,000 people. And then I got deeper into that, to like dance music culture. And I understood, or I came to understand, that's how it works there. Like in hip hop and in R&B and soca and reggae, there's DJs and there's artists. In dance music, the DJ is the artist. And it just made sense to me, like, oh, why don't I do that? Because like I love what I'm doing. If I'm making music, that'll give me the ability to do what I do on a bigger scale for more people. No brainer at that point. So I got into it. I started working at it, made a bunch of shitty songs, got some good feedback, some bad feedback. I made a couple of records that like actually, hit, that DJs were playing all over the world. And that gave me the motivation to keep going and get better. And like, it's only in the last year and a half, 2 years that I feel like I've hit my stride, that my music, when I listen to it, I'm like, oh shit, it's world class now. Like if you didn't,
nice.
I'm running into circumstances where I'm playing a song for somebody to show them, and they're like, oh cool, who's that by? And I'm like, by me. And they're like, oh shit, I thought that was Calvin Harris. You know what I mean? Or oh shit, I thought that was DJ Snake. Not that it sounds like that, but like it's on the level of that. Like they're like, or I play a song for someone who's like, yo, this should be on the radio. Like, why is this not on the radio all day, every day? Like, so I know that I'm there now. So now from here, I'm just working at it to get more music out there and get it into people's ears. And I'm enjoying it so much that I can't imagine not doing it. Like as soon as we're finished talking, I'm going back to work on some more music.
Dope. That's beautiful, man. That's awesome. Kirk. So fun. Thanks for coming on and for lending me your time. And again, next time, like if you're dropping new things and you want to plug it, hit me up. We'll get you on and we'll talk about whatever else you're working on next. But thank you so much for coming out and giving me your time for this,
dude,
man.
Thank you for having me. And next time I need to ask you more questions about the living situation, dude. This is like so fascinating to me. It's so fascinating to me, and I'm so happy you're doing it. And I just want to hear those stories.
Yeah. Like, so make that be your goal, is get another song ready that you need to push, get you back on the show.
Consider it
you can
done.
You control that interview.
Consider it
like
done.
As much as I love to tell everybody what I'm doing, like I'm thankful I'm just asking the right questions that leads up to an hour, and then it's like, all right, cool. Peace.
No, man, that was great talking to you. It was a great conversation and great to reconnect. We haven't spoken like properly in so long. I don't remember the last time.
Yeah.
Was the last time I saw you in person at Ron's wedding, or was it after that?
Yeah. That was the last. No, when I brought my mom to the Raptors game
Yes, that's
for
right.
New Year's one
That's
time.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
that was the last
Okay, well,
time.
that was a quick one. That was like,
So
hey, what's up? Okay, we're going back to our seats type thing. But yeah,
yeah,
man, great to reconnect, dude. Great conversation. Great questions.
likewise.
You're like not even a professional interviewer, but you're better than a lot of professional interviewers. So pat on the back for that.
The I started off interviewing and stuff. Like I did these little vlogs back in the day for other companies, and I was like their interviewer. And I learned that there's the art to interviewing is to genuinely be interested. So it's like to
Facts.
understand who it is you're talking to. Because if I'm interested in talking to you, I want the answers. I'm going to try my best to get the answers and ask the right questions. Where being in the industry that I am, I've had these interviewers where it's like they have a rap sheet and they'll just pick off of
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's like, do you even want to ask that question? Like you genuinely
You
sound
know
like
what I
you don't.
mean?
Yeah. So that's where I learned, and it's like I've
Bro,
done
I
workshops.
had some too. I
Yeah,
was like, yo, do you even know who I am?
yeah, yeah. Where
Yeah, all good, brother.
they're
Thank you so
just like,
much. It's been fun.
oh man. But everybody, thank y'all for tuning in. 2 Degrees podcast brought to you by the Play On Foundation. 4 Korners, check him out, everything that he's doing. And he's got new music currently. It's not going to be new by the time this gets out. But right now, with Connor Price Marathon, check that out. It's a banger. But other than that, Kirk, thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care.